Aloha YouTube, this is AquaNINJA, and I'm coming at you today to talk about how I was first in line for the iPhone X and I actually decided not to get it. Price obviously was a factor. It's $999, and let's be real, for the most part you're gonna get the bigger variant, which is 256 gigs for $100 more. And when you run that through your carrier, which I'm gonna talk about a little bit later, it gets to be insurmountable. So let's knock off the first 3 points, right? Point number one is the iPhone X notch. And it's no way to deny this. That notch is freaking huge. And a lot of YouTubers that are paid, obviously, or sponsored by Apple.
So excited right now because in front of me is the new iPhone 10 and I'm shaking. I am shaking with excitement, and I would say that this is an official unboxing, but I actually could not even wait until I got home, so I kind of...
They got the product for free. Obviously, they're going to get positive reviews to the notch and say things like, oh, it doesn't even exist really.
And then certain apps, most of them actually, will go full screen and fill the entire display around the notch, which is really cool. It kind of looks like the Essential phone with a much wider notch. It gives you that immersive look.
You won't even notice it after a few hours and things like that, but you notice those few YouTubers that kept it real were like,
Hello Galaxy, I'm Chris Pirello, and I wanted to talk about the iPhone X's sensor housing, or as it's affectionately known, the notch, even though it's not really a notch. Let's just keep calling it a notch, shall we? Not a big giant protrusion, which it is. Not a big black nipple at the top of the screen that you just can't get around.
The notch is a bit obtrusive and it sucks when you're watching videos. And, for anybody who's actually seen or held the iPhone X, they'll be able to attest to this, that, yeah, it is a bit obtrusive. I personally am a technology enthusiast. I actually kind of like the notch, to be honest. But in a lot of ways, especially when you're watching videos, that giving up real estate in your screen is just going to become cumbersome. And that's why I'm like, in the next year's iteration of the iPhone X, whether it be like an upgrade or just be like a newer version of it, they're gonna fix how the notch works and looks and things like that, and they're gonna touch on all the flaws of this year. So next year's version of it is probably gonna be more intact for the better iPhone X. And as Chris said, Chris Pirello, yeah, it's just not really innovative in terms of a UX.
The pixels that are being used but still cannot be used effectively by apps. Let's just put visual barf aside. And as he basically demonstrates over and over again, you're getting maybe a few more pixels that are usable. You can't necessarily ignore the safe area because developers, the people who create the apps that you use, can't ignore the safe area. They have to embrace everything.
Like, even if you're not a developer like me, you probably are like, how are certain apps going to function with this notch?
There are some other changes too. The screen no longer has a thick border on the top and bottom, just this thin strip called the notch. The full screen look looks really nice for apps that have been optimized. So for example, for Apple Maps, you get more map. And for apps that haven't, like Apple's own Apple Store app, it just feels like using an older iPhone since thick bezels are slapped on the top and bottom.
I mean, let's even say YouTube, what you're watching this on right now. You have these bars that go around your screen, and depending on what type of phone you have, if you have a newer phone like an 18 by 9 aspect ratio phone, you probably have little black bars on the side, or you can stretch it out for certain phones. It makes it so that you don't really notice this weird ratio, because the ratio looks great. Most movies are kind of filmed inside a weird ratio like that, so it doesn't really become apparent in that. But when you have a notch, now you have to accompany that notch into your aspect ratio as well, making your screen even smaller. And that's why if you look at iPhone's video for iPhone X for YouTube, it's super duper condensed because it's like both things put together. It's really cringy. It's not really that good at all. And that is like flaw number one for me personally, why I was like, I gotta agree with Chris Pirello on that. It's not really that tempting. Two, future of Apple, honestly. So Steve Jobs said way back in the day basically how companies should be run. different parts of the company, and how the whole industry can fall and
The
collapse.
same thing can happen in technology companies that get monopolies, like, oh, IBM and Xerox. If you were a product person at IBM or Xerox, so you make a better copy or a better computer. So what? When you have a monopoly market share, the company's not any more successful. So the people that can make the company more successful are sales and marketing people. And they end up running the companies. And the product people get driven out of the decision-making forums. And the companies forget what it means to make great products.
Different things in different subjects and different divisions and things like that. And I'll try to put the reference in there, but he had a really good point. And I feel as though Apple, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, has been straying away from their initial path. And this is why I feel that they're in the, the crux of being the next BlackBerry, Sidekick, any of the other big name phones, where it basically you're not gonna be. I don't think they're ever gonna kick the dust. No, their marketing is among the best in the world, easy, by far, by none. Anybody who knows anything about business, technology, or phones will know that Apple is at their peak. You know what I mean? The peak of marketing. If you go to South Beach, if you go to any big city, you're gonna see ads all over the place for Apple. So no, they know what they're doing on the Apple in the marketing front. They know how to get that brand enthusiasm and make people like, I want that phone, I need that phone. I'm not cool if I don't have the latest, greatest iPhone. You know, they know how to create that buzz and that feel like you need the iPhone X. I wouldn't have waited up until 3 a.m. in the morning otherwise. I'm in the Eastern time zone. I'm in Miami. So yeah, it's a perfect example. But can that hype maintain you even when your product is lackluster? I don't know. And in a lot of ways, they're steering away from that goal because, like, let's say this year, right? Point number 2 was that they have 3 different phone divisions right here. Now, this is where you need to really pay attention. They have 2 models where the iPhone 8, and then they have an X model. Why is this a big deal? Because this is the first year they stemmed into having 3 phone models. They have a smaller variant, a larger variant, and a premium variant. And you may not think of it as that much, but previous to this year, they have had 2 phone models. And years before that, 2 phone models. And years before that, 1 phone model. And this motif of, slowly upgrading your phone makes sense for most people because they upgrade their phone every 2 years. Some people upgrade their phone every year. So you have people in a sort of pattern, you know what I mean? Like, if you're really into phones, you'll get a phone every year. If you're not that into phones, you'll get a phone every 2 years. And some people wait for that. They only get the S models. So they only get the 4S, the 5S, the 6S, the 7. They only had the S models. But this is the year that they said, you know what, we're going to throw everything to the wind, right? It's a 10-year anniversary. But this is maybe their biggest flaw, because by allowing them to say, we're going to have 3 phone models, they kind of screwed themselves over for that kind of residual impact. Let's say hypothetically the iPhone X next year is a great phone, right? Because they have to make another better version of the iPhone X. Why, you ask? Well, let's say they come out with next year, they have the same 3-tier phone, right? They have a small, large, and a premium version. Well, just like this year, why would anybody want the small and a large normal version? I mean, really, it's an incremental upgrade of the years past. And this year, now that we already have seen the X, and everybody's already been accustomed to the X, you're going to be thinking as an iPhone enthusiast or a consumer or even just a random person, why would I want to get that phone? It's basically a really crappy version of the phone that we had last year that was a crappy version of the phone we had the year prior to that. The 7 was, I would say, a pretty big upgrade over the 6S. You had the dual speaker for the first time, you lost the headphone jack, you got the virtual home button, and several small things. The camera finally went dual. So it's design wise it looked different, it felt different. That was that was the biggest upgrade since the last 4 years, ironically. Now, if you think about it, by them using this motif like, well, we're going to upgrade small in between that, it doesn't make any sense. Because going from the 7 to the 8, they didn't really improve that much. They actually didn't change almost anything. They only added wireless charging, which, let's be real, nobody really uses, and the glass back, which is aesthetics. That doesn't do anything. So they really didn't improve anything, which is why it's like, how do you expect people to want to buy your phone when you don't really do anything different? They didn't want you to buy the 8 or the 8 Plus. No, they really wanted you to say, I'm going to save up and I'm going to wait for the X. But if that was the case, then why release 3 models? Why not release 1 model and just say it's the 10-year anniversary? This is a huge celebration. You know, you already have that media, that marketing hype. Everybody, let's go buy the iPhone X. Then you can devote all your resources instead of making these 2 crappy versions of phones that, let's be real, nobody serious wants. And you can devote all your resources to making 1 premium device and then mass market that, mass produce that phone. That way, instead of having 2 million phones or whatever it is, the BS number they're going to make up this year, you could have 25 million, 28 million. And you know everybody's going to be happy. You're going to drive your brand up. And you're going to make the consumer happier because now you're going to, at the end of the day, gain more consumers. Everybody's going to want to buy the X. They literally just make one premium phone. That would make way more sense. And profits-wise, you, instead of making it $999, you could even reduce the price to like $925 or something like that. You'll still make a ginormous profit because we know how much the iPhone X actually costs to make. And you'll still get, like, you're gaining in every category. You're gaining profits, you're gaining sales, you're gaining numbers. Because the iPhone X, let's be real, they didn't sell well. They never released their numbers, but we know based on, you know, analytics that they didn't do well. And who do you know that has an iPhone X? Okay, so we can do a straw poll right now. Not too many people have the iPhone 8. So their mistake right there of us making a crappier version of a phone of the X in terms of the 8 and the 8 Plus may have been the biggest mistake, because now next year they're forced to make a crucial weird decision. Did we come out with 3 phones? Did we come out with 2 phones? Or did we come out with 1 premium phone and just say forget all the rest of the phones? Because if we come out with 3 phones like we did this year, then who's gonna buy the 8S or the 9, whatever you want to call it, whatever they want to call it, over the X2 or whatever they decide to call that, which now that makes no sense either, because now it's not the 10-year anniversary, so it really doesn't make sense to call it that either. So the naming isn't going to make sense. Nothing's going to make sense. The best option for them at this point is to save face and do what they should have did this year, which is to just release 1 premium phone, just one size fits all, because it's in between the sizes of the small version and the large version. So just make 1 premium device, call it the iPhone X2, iPhone Edition, iPhone Pro, iPhone Premium, iPhone. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure out an Apple name. Let's be really honest. An iPhone something, 1 phone, make it 5.8 inches, 5.7 inches, so it looks exactly like the iPhone X. Improve on it in every way. The gestures and things like that, because obviously people are going to realize how cumbersome they are in the first week or 2, and then they're going to tell the truth and be like, oh, this phone is kind of annoying. Remember, I made this video now, so I made this video before it even happened, and I'm going to tell you it's going to be right. And, you know, after you improve on these things that the original iPhone X of this year made a mistake on, boom, you're going to sell like hotcakes. Because then you're going to gain that brand loyalty. You know what I mean? Then people are going to be like, all right, Apple, you're doing good. You can release that new phone at a lower price, so it doesn't have to be $1,000, and it's going to really garner Apple support. And I know that this phone's not going to be that good. I'm telling you, like, it's already a given that it's kind of going to be that. It's like the beta phone. Like in every year they always do the, you know, like a beta test for their phones. You know, whether it be software, portrait mode, yeah, we have that. And then when you get the phone, it's like, oh, well, this isn't beta though. So if you if you don't be too harsh on it, all right? Apple always does that. If you don't know, Apple's a software company, so they always beta test their stuff. They even have asked for us developers like test flight, so we can see things before they happen, and then they go out to the mainstream. We see it months in advance, sometimes a lot of months in advance, and it's like, come on, Apple. Like, sometimes you just gotta be better. Like, and the funny thing is, like, everything I just mentioned makes complete and absolute sense. Like, why would they release 3 phones this year when they know nobody's gonna want the 8? Like, if you wanted an 8, and let's say hypothetically you want the 8 Plus, to be extra specific, right? Why would you take that over the X when you're probably paying with $50 more or $150 more? Is that really that big of a deal? Is that $50 or $150 really that big of a deal? No, it's not going to break the bank. If you're spending $850 on a smartphone, $50 or $150 is not going to make a big deal. I'm just going to be real with you. And they know that they can exploit you like that, and that's why they do it. It's for that very reason. And we're not even taking into account carrier charges, because most people have AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, or Sprint if you live in the United States like I do. So you're going to be paying a little bit of a surcharge on that if you're financing that phone, which you're probably going to be doing. Because I don't know too many people that go to an AT&T store and just say, hey, here's $1,000 flat, give me that phone. No, nobody does that. And at most AT&T stores, you really can't do that. So you have to, go to an official, AT&T store to be able to even do that. Those stores are not going to have iPhones just laying around like that. Not the X, Maybe 6 months down the road you're going to be able to do that, and by that point you're going to be thinking, why not do that for the X2? So it just doesn't make sense all around. This is my thoughts. This is the real reason why I decided. I mean, so it wasn't just like some mood decision where I was like, I don't know if I'm thinking about it. No, I was literally first in line, and I was like, if I'm taking all these things in consideration, there's no point of me spending $1,000, even if I have that $1,000. Maybe I have that $1,000, but it's like, even if I do, there's no point in me having it. Like right now, I mean, you see, come on, I got all the iPhones. I got iPhones. I got Samsungs. I got Google phones. I got all types of phones. It's it's not really the issue of what's the phone, the phone's caliber and things like that. I think the iPhone X's design, the UX, minus the notch and a few other things, is great. The idea is awesome. The idea is really what got me. Like, it's a 10-year anniversary. They wanted to come together with a combination of all of the ideas throughout the years, put them together in one phone. Yeah, why not? I'm down for it. But with all those cons that I mentioned earlier, it makes it a really tough buy for somebody who's, I'd say, an educated consumer, or somebody who knows about the ins and outs of tech. If you're just, somebody who likes a high price phone accessory, or phone in general, by all means, it's its own accessory. So yeah, it's like having a fancy purse or a fancy guitar or anything like that. You're buying the brand. You're buying this as a basically big carry-on that you keep in your pocket, that is smart, that's computer. But if you're buying it for any other use other than like just show-offiness, it's not really worth the buy. Just wait for next year, or several phones in between. If you're an Apple enthusiast, wait for next year. I'm telling you, it's confirmed that they're gonna have to do something outrageous next year. I 100% guarantee you. You can start this video so you can remember it from next year. Make sure you share this video so that way we can hold me at my word. Next year they're gonna do something outrageous, because there's no way statistically that they're gonna be able to do. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be a smart economic business choice by them doing what they did this year, if that makes any sense. And it's also not practical, because having 3 phones next year which wouldn't work out. If you want to know any more of the breakdown, or you think I should make a follow-up video, you want me to talk more about the in-depth version of the 3 phones, why they're gonna switch from that motif, then leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Trying to get to 10,000, keeping my numbers modest. I'm not really, some huge YouTuber that's like, oh, dude, I'm just a developer. I like awesome tech. I like awesome cars and the like. And if you are into that stuff, you like cool stuff too, hit me on the subscribe button, man. and or ladies, you know, there's a couple of you out there. I see like maybe 2, 3 in the analytics.